This is TWiT.
The last quarter of last year, apparently not so kind to the smartphone industry because Burke's aforementioned IDC report published some numbers on worldwide smartphone sales for the fourth quarter of 2022, saw the largest ever quarterly decline in smartphone shipments. 18.33% drop in that quarter. The year saw an 11.3% decline. Also, the lowest annual shipment total since 2013, 1.21 billion phones for the year. Hard to put that in context because I don't have what the other numbers, like last year was, but just know that it's 11.3% decline there. Apple and Samsung down 14.9% and 15.6% respectively, but Xiaomi, which was one of the biggest manufacturers of the year, dropped a whopping 26.5%, so lost a quarter of what they have normally been doing in their business of shipping phones. Lost a quarter of that business last year. So I don't know. What is this? Just kind of like, oh, everybody's worried about the economy, and so that's what happens in a tight economy. People hold on to their phones a little bit longer. Or is this something different? Are people getting bored of smartphones? What do you guys think?
I think you touched on it a little bit with the economy aspect of it. We're seeing, I know in other aspects of business, not just consumer electronics, but like other things I do in my day job, stuff like that. There is a slowdown happening. The holidays were soft, like I think the last year with all the inflation brouhaha and what's going on just kind of with the markets and stuff like that. I think after a year of a rough financial year in 2022, it's starting to have an impact on just average people, and what their spending is. I don't know. I mean, it is for me and my family. I don't know how it is for you guys. Huyen, what do you think?
I can't imagine the same that it is, the economy and inflation. And I mean, as necessary as smartphones are today, I think most people will hesitate to buy a brand new smartphone just for the holidays when things have been going the way they are. And I think it's kind of interesting because we keep talking about manufacturers lengthening the terms of, support, like, from Updates. 2 to 3 up to 4 to 5. Because it seems to be there's an appetite for not, and maybe probably independent of this, but not probably disconnected from this, is the desire to be able to keep your phone longer. I mean, I think naturally that's just a thing that people would like, to be able to not have to update every 2 years, as some of us enthusiasts might like, but I think the average person might feel a little differently. And I don't think that was driving this at all, but I kind of wonder also whether, in some small part there is something of this desire to hang on to phones longer, and maybe some boredom. Like another thing we always talk about is kind of like all the little kind of minute innovations or lack of innovations and things like that. So who knows? Maybe people are just given a good excuse to stop buying smartphones between like the actual legitimate problems of like inflation in the economy, as well as like not a lot huge is going on, at least that isn't a price range that people like,
Right.
like I know, Ron, you love mid-range smartphones. The kind of most innovative things we've talked about are $2,000 foldable phones, which are absolutely, so I don't know. Maybe
out of reach of most people, especially those who would be deciding to not buy a new smartphone, sooner, maybe stretch that out. They're not, their next smartphone's probably not going to be a foldable, it's probably going to be, okay, what, through the deal with my carrier, what am I allowed to get? That's less expensive. But as far as consumers are concerned, this might actually be good if you are nearing the time to upgrade, because in a time where these hardware manufacturers are having a harder time selling the hardware that they do have, you can imagine that you're going to be seeing more favorable trade-in values, like something, and actually we will put this to the test probably tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific is Samsung's event to, announce the latest and greatest Galaxy S devices that they have in store. I'm actually doing live coverage here at TWiT. I'm not sure if Leo is going to join me or not, but it's cool. Like I've done them solo before. So tomorrow, Wednesday, February 1st, 10 a.m. Pacific to see what Samsung's doing. But I bring that up because Samsung has, in the last couple of years, been really kind of pushing the envelope as far as the trade-in values for their previous phones and for phones outside of what they make in order to get into their latest and greatest. You get high value for them, especially at launch. So I imagine we would see more of that because these manufacturers, they still want to move their devices. Even if people aren't buying, they want to figure out some way to encourage them to, and that's one way they can do it.
I am curious. I know that we're not talking about Samsung here, but we're always talking about Samsung, aren't we? Right. I am very curious what tomorrow's event will be, given it's in person in San Francisco. Florence Ion, I think she's going to be there in person. So we'll hear from her what it'll be like. But again, I know we always make this joke, but I'm praying. Like we've had the very middle of the road Samsung. Just kind of like very slickly produced, but pretty standard kind of rollout over the past couple of years. I want a theme. Honestly, we don't need Broadway again like we had, but just give me something else, to work with Samsung. But yeah,
they've been going the straight route recently, which has been good enough. I don't know. I was talking with Leo earlier, and we were just kind of talking about kind of like the excitement or lack thereof around events like Samsung's tomorrow. Once again, year after year after year, we already know everything. Like it's all leaked. Like at this point, it's just kind of like there's nothing new to be learned other than for things to be official instead of unofficial. And
do you remember when we didn't
is.
know? Do you remember back when it was like, oh my God, it's there was a point where like I don't know how the world got so leaky. That's weird.
It became because enough. Leaking became part of the marketing campaign.
Exactly. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. The snake started eating its own tail.
Yeah, they started, I'm sure, to realize that, oh, wow, a certain sector, the people who are really motivated to get the new device, right? Like Uber fans.
Also a cheap way
really care.
to advertise.
And cheap. Yes, a really good point. Mm-hmm. It's a really, really great way to get people excited early so that they have those launch numbers when they come out the door. But it makes things a lot less exciting on announcement day. It is what it is.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands On Photography here on TWiT TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.